welcome to the Lighten Up Podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you've chosen to join me today for episode 145. Are you throwing away the old to get to the new? This is such an interesting phenomenon, and it's something that I see time and time again with pretty much every client I work with who is looking at following their dream. Whether that dream is a entrepreneurship, a new business, if it's a creative pursuit, a career advancement or change, whatever that is, they do this very interesting thing where they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And quite frankly, we all get shiny object syndrome sometimes where there's something that's exciting and delicious and we're like, oh, I just want to jump to it and have a brand new life. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong at all with that. But unfortunately, people do this in a way where things get left behind and left out of the equation. And a lot of times those things maybe on the surface were old and boring and probably weren't seemingly super relevant anymore. But if you actually dig deeper, if you look deeper and you were really willing to undefine it and look outside of the box, those things could actually create for you on your new path. You could actually take them, rework them, repurpose them, and reapply them in new and different ways to actually make what you are starting go smoother. It's kind of like if you've ever had a big career change or you started your own business or a healing practice, whatever it is, and you kind of felt like you were starting from nothing. You were starting from ground zero or point zero. Most of us feel that way because, again, it's something new. We don't really have a strong background in it. I know I struggled for this for a little bit when I first started my yoga practice, and then I started my energy work and life coaching practice. It felt super new, and it also felt super different than my normal day gig as a speech therapist at a hospital. Because it felt so different, it didn't seem like my skill sets from my normal day gig actually applied to my side hustle that I was desiring to build up. And because of that, I was, of course, super enthusiastic and excited about this new possibility. So that's where my focus went. That's where my attention went. And because I didn't see the relevancy of my day gig and all my history with schooling and clients and the medical background, because I didn't see that as relevant, it was something where I just wanted to drop it, leave the old and go towards the new. Now, it was interesting, and it took quite a long while, if I'm being completely honest, of struggling and letting the two, first of all, coexist peacefully in my space. Most of us, as we're building up a side hustle, a new business, we're not really financially sound yet to be able to just drop our normal source of income and jump over. You may be, and that's awesome, congratulations, but most of us have to build a business, and that takes a little bit of time. If you're writing even a book or a screenplay, you're going after more of a creative pursuit. Again, the money may not be coming in from that, so your day gig is actually there to support you by bringing in resources, bringing in money, bringing in connections to actually make your life easier as you build. So it's kind of fascinating, this leaving behind the old to get to the new. You want to be able to include both for more ease. So instead of dropping what is because it doesn't seem relevant, it's not as exciting, it's a bit boring, what if you actually started looking at it differently? Number one, what if you could actually start having gratitude for what that day gig actually provided for you? For me, one of the ways whenever I would get kind of angsty with this stuff and they weren't like coexisting peacefully, it was kind of like, all my time is going to my day job and I really want the energy to put over here to my business, and just getting frustrated with that back and forth. One way I flipped that for myself was just to practice more gratitude for what my day gig was actually giving, not only to me, my body, and my living, but also to my future pursuits. So having a little gratitude will actually bring a little bit more space in so that the two can coexist peacefully and won't maybe be battling it out so much. The other way to really look at this is to undefine the roles you have given yourself in these two different areas. How often do you put on your work clothes and you go to work and, okay, this is this part of me. I'm going to go forward, and this is the thing that I'm being right now. And then the side hustle, that creative project, doesn't ever bleed over. So it doesn't feel like it's included all the day. Same thing, we take off our work clothes and put on either our yoga clothes to go out and teach, or an outfit that just kind of speaks more to our side gig or our side hustle. And all of a sudden we put on the role of that person. It's kind of fascinating. We have these two very different ways of being and existing. And because they aren't contributing to each other and playing well with each other and peacefully coexisting, yes, but also kind of like gifting back and forth and amplifying each other, we feel compartmentalized. And sometimes we feel a bit robbed. I know I had that for a long time of, wow, I really want to be more of this thing over here, but because most of my week is spent in my normal gig, I actually don't have the bandwidth to do that. That's absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. What if there was more crossover than you've acknowledged before? What if you were willing not to look at yourself in a role as X and a role as Y, but as one complete being, and started to see the similarities, the commonalities, the common threads, even if it wasn't on the surface, even if it was just energies or certain skill sets that were common between the two. For an example, I'm working with a client right now who is looking at making a huge, not just career change. I mean, that seems way too small for what most of us are going for. It's us actually following our dream. It's, again, creating that new trail and that new path for ourselves and really spending our time doing something that we're called to do. She had really amazing careers and jobs in her past, and she got burnt out. She was like, this actually takes too much of my time and energy. She left it completely. She went and just kind of was starting to pick up odd jobs here and there. She would nanny. She delivers things for a living now and gets paid that way. But the money that's coming in doesn't support her life. Not only does it not support her life, but it doesn't support her dreams. It doesn't support her skill set and her magical ways of actually being in the world that make her the bright, shiny object that she is. So we were looking at this. She's been having a hard time leaving these kind of like piecemeal together minimum wage gigs to get into that bigger life. And we went through like a past exercise of being able to go back to the most fun job she ever had and not really pick apart like, okay, that's the job you have to go back to. Most of us don't want to do that. But what were the qualities and the elements and the skill sets you got to use? And it was quite fascinating. She came up with item after item of like, wow, I really liked the money. Not only did I get a regular paycheck, I would get lots of bonuses. So that was really fun. She's like, we got to work as part of a team. So there was a caring. I was also pushing the creative edge because I was the creative problem solver. So I was having to think outside the box a lot. It was also interesting because the more she listed these undefined jobs into more like skill sets and energies and ways that she liked to play and get paid for, we started to notice that her current gigs had none of that whatsoever. And is it any wonder that your body is exhausted? Is it any wonder that you're getting burnt out? Is it any wonder that you're actually not creating money because you're leaving out, you've left the old, dropped it completely, threw the baby out with the bathwater, whatever you want to say, to be able to do something different. But when you're doing that, you leave out parts and pieces of yourself. So her exercise moving forward, and one that I suggest you take if you want to play a little bit deeper, is to actually make a list of your favorite job. Make a list of all of the elements that lit you up, all of the skill sets you got to use, the way you were treated, the way you were viewed, the people you got to play with. All of that goes down on the list. Start to look at how much of that matches up with your current. Have gratitude for that. Start to see where there's commonality. And now when you're asking questions about creating your future, the demand, the request is to actually have those elements be amplified. More and more and more and more of that. What you may start to notice with this is you'll start to see the commonality. So you won't start to see piecemeal living where, oh, I had that job and then I had this one and then I created this thing over here, where you feel like a bunch of different people what it does, it actually allows you to be more of the wealth of being that you are, so that as you move forward with creation, which all of us are in one way or the other, creative pursuits or entrepreneurships, businesses, whatever. As you move forward with that, you're actually going to be moving yourself in the direction of wealth and wholeness. Most of the angst and the fight comes when we're trying to piecemeal ourselves out. And again, if you're doing something day to day, and wanting to grow something completely different, how often do we drop what is to try to get there? But as we do, we drop parts of ourselves, or we piecemeal ourselves off. That creation that you're going for is never going to be as full as it possibly can. It's also not going to be as easeful and fun as it possibly can. When I was going through this with my transition from speech therapist to yoga instructor to workshop leader to author, all of this stuff, I was constantly in a battle back and forth, feeling like I was like 4 different people. It wasn't only until I went, wait a second, if my interest and my energy and my enthusiasm is going more towards this holistic approach, what if I could actually pull that in to my day-to-day gig? And, quite frankly, a lot of it didn't apply on the surface. I work in a very strict Western medicine environment, but my ways of being with myself, my ways of using different languaging with people, my ways of softening my energy around them, all of that can be included in my day-to-day gig. What I had noticed with that when I made that, not only did they, like the day gig plus the side gig, started to coexist more peacefully, I was more relaxed, I was more happy, I have more creative power and potency to move forward. I actually had more energy to start doing my side gig more, while actually doing my day gig too. And I started to notice as my day gig got easier and more exciting and delicious, my side gig did the same thing. They not only coexisted peacefully after a while, what they did is they actually contributed to each other. They amplified it. And the result was me actually being happier, having a better quality of life, and being able to move forward in creation in a different way. You don't have to leave the old to get to the new. You absolutely can look at something and say, this is not working for me anymore. I'm going to choose something different. But I invite you, before you make a dramatic step, to actually go, okay, where am I maybe divorcing parts of myself? Where have I taken skill sets and let them go dormant? Where did I just get bored with what was, and so I went to something new, but now I'm kind of getting bored with that and not revisiting everything that I had in my past, like my client was. What if you can reawaken some of that stuff and again repurpose it to what you desire to move forward with? You absolutely can follow your dream, and you can absolutely do that while you have a day job. One doesn't negate the other. It doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be drama. It is hard work sometimes because, again, you're building a new life for yourself. Building a business takes time. Getting clients takes time. There's a lot of investment of your resources, your time, your money, your energy. How can actually enjoying your day gig and starting to see the wholeness of all of it together as a whole picture for your life and living create more ease for you? And allow your path to be one that continually moves forward into bigger and better and expands from there. You won't get that if you're divorcing parts of yourself or leaving parts of yourself on the sideline. You want to continually look at how everything can contribute to each other and leave no stone unturned, so that when you create, you have a wide ingredient list to pull from. Yes, you can follow your dream. Yes, you can do it when you have a day gig. If you're looking at this currently in a day gig and wanting to jump into entrepreneurship or on a creative path, or are looking at just up-leveling your life in a new way and are feeling pulled towards that, this 12-week program I have coming up may just be the ticket. We're going to be talking a lot about this, actually creating your dream and getting you moving on that path while you allow your day gig and your past and your present to continue to contribute to you. creation actually is easeful, and the movement into the wealth of being that's possible is easeful if you're willing to play outside of the box like this. And if you're willing to push your growing edges just a little bit. The link for that program is down below. Listen to this episode again, pick apart the information, and I invite you to do that exercise I talked about midway through. What can you discover and what can you start to choose that will lead your life in a whole new direction? Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.